Welcome everyone, my name is Fist Truck. So I was playing the Demon Souls remake, remastered, whatever you want to call it, and as I tend to do with these games, and more importantly games that I thoroughly enjoy, I want to get the Platinum Trophy. After deciding that I was going to do it, I did what people typically do in these situations. Look at the trophy list and see what I have to do next. Upon doing so, I saw things such as, get all miracles, okay, get all spells, okay, get all rings, annoying, but okay, kill someone while invading as a Black Phantom, fuck. I hate PvP. I fucking hate PvP in these games. I suck at it. I'm gonna be honest, I suck ass at it. But also, I suck ass at it because I never like doing it because I hate it. But, boy wants a Platinum Trophy, so guess what he's doing? PvP. As an aside, I found out that you could be summoned for a duel and it still counts for that, so not as bad. Anywho, this got me looking back on all my experiences and getting all the trophies or the achievements in all the Soulsborne Golden Ring games. Aside from Sekiro, because apparently I can't be bothered to get 2 fucking upgrade materials for the prosthetic tools, but that's besides the point. More importantly, I want to break down how if they chose to kind of freshen up the way they do the achievements in these games, they might make them a better experience for more people. But before we get into that, you know what's just as satisfying as a fresh new achievement or trophy? Clicking the subscribe button. I'm going to move on now. Also, as an aside, I know there are going to be the people that are like, oh, I don't care about achievements, you don't need them. Well, obviously this isn't for you. This is for my fellow degens that feel the need to platinum each of these games. But before we get into this, I want to break down achievements into 4 general categories. Number 1, beating the game. Pretty self-explanatory, but just to summarize it real quickly, it's the achievements / trophies that you get just by naturally playing through the game and not really going out of your way. Number 2, doing content. Very vague, I know, but these are usually the ones that involve you doing all the side stuff. Collectibles, beating the game on multiple difficulties, seeing all the endings, pretty much all the busy work that you probably won't do when you play through the game. Number 3, experimenting. These are the quirky ones. Frequently being obtuse, seemingly random, and will require you to play the game in a way you probably never thought of. And lastly, number 4, employment. These require you to grow a neckbeard, shit in a bedpan, and dedicate your full-time job to playing one fucking game. And now with that out of the way, I'm going to quickly go over how the typical completion journey goes for one of these games, and how too many of the achievements find themselves in categories 1 and 2, and if they just decided to put themselves in 3, a lot more people would be able to see where these games truly shine. Since it's fresh on the memory, why not talk about it? Demon Souls. In order to get the Platinum Trophy for this game, you have to get all the miracles, spells, and rings. What does that mean? You have to abuse the ever-living fuck out of your world tendency and character tendency. For those who don't know, it's an incredibly arbitrary system in Demon Souls that is only stayed in Demon Souls, mostly thankfully, and essentially is tied to when your character dies and how they die, and if you kill certain NPCs or Black Phantoms as they'll call them. Now assume there'll be the people that'll go, I'm fancy and I played through the game naturally and got all the trophies. Cool, fuck you. Also, I hope you enjoyed playing through the game like 10 or 11 times. Otherwise, you do the degen strats and start killing yourself 7 times in each world for at least 2 playthroughs. Now, thankfully, you don't have to abuse the world tendency too much to get all the trophies. However, you really do if you want to get the penetrator armor, and that shit looks fucking cool. However, you do really have to abuse character tendency, and that one kind of sucks, especially if you killed an NPC in your first playthrough thinking it would result in you getting to something quicker than you normally thought it would. Essentially, that fucked my character tendency in the ass so hard that I had to kill 2.5 playthroughs worth of Black Phantoms. Fun! Which then involved me abusing the ever-living hell of the world tendency system, which involved me killing myself at least 35 times each playthrough. That is not including all the times I killed myself in the Nexus to ensure that if I died in the world, it wouldn't lower my world tendency, because degen strats are a fucking thing. So why was I going through all that? For 2 specific rings. The ally ring and the foes ring. I forgot the name of the other one. I think that's it. For the ally ring, you need your character tendency to be pure white, and for the foe ring, you need your character tendency to be pure black. Literally 2 rings for 1 trophy involve 2.5 playthroughs of being a fucking degenerate. But all these trophies really fall into category 2, which is doing all the content, getting all the rings, spells, miracles, whatever the fuck. Not very fun, but it's something to do. To move on to the more egregious of sins committed by this franchise, we're gonna go to Dark Souls 3. Now, Dark Souls 3, and pardon any misinformation because it's been a while since I've done this, has a couple of achievements / trophies that involve you getting all the rings, spells, gestures, I think, and miracles. Most importantly, some of these gestures and spells and rings and all that kind of stuff can only be acquired by hitting rank 3 in certain covenants. And for those who don't know, in order to get that, you need to turn in 30 of whatever covenant item there is. So if you want to naturally play through the game, no GMOs added, pure grass-fed playthroughs, you put on the blue sentinel ring, wait about 2 hours for somebody to summon you in upon them getting evaded. Oh wait, you don't, because that shit doesn't happen regularly. Or you get summoned in for the Wolf Covenant, which is probably the most consistent one, but it's still pretty inconsistent. Or you get summoned in for the Mound Maker invasions, in which case you get fucked in the ass because everyone hates the purples in that game. And then over the course of doing however much PvP or co-op you need to, you'll eventually get the certain amount of rewards you need to get whatever ring or spell or miracle you want. Or for the Dark Moon Covenant, I'm just going to call it that because that's what it was in Dark Souls 1, you can go farm Silver Knights for like 3 or 4 hours. Or you could farm those weird goatmen poison dudes in Farron Swamp for also 3 or 4 hours. Not fun. Not fun. Not fun. And lastly, Dark Souls 2. Getting all the gestures, special weapons, spells, whatever the fuck. It has been a very long time since I've done this, but I remember a shit ton of them are tied to character quest lines. And in that game, NPC quest lines are involved. They frequently require you to summon dudes in to help you fight bosses and ensure that they live through the fight. By the way, half of them have half a fucking brain and will die mid-fight. It's so fucking annoying. Lucatiel. And on top of that, it requires you to get all the rings, which includes all the +2 variants, I think. And some of those can only be gotten on New Game Plus Plus. And what Dark Souls 2 did, which I'm going to definitely give it credit for, and also shit on it at the same time for, was having things change in later New Game Plus cycles. Usually more enemies would show up. Black Phantoms, akin to the ones that were in Demon Souls and sometimes in Dark Souls 1. Frequently, however, this just resulted in some cheap-ass fights. Lost Sinner. That's it. Not fun. Not fun. Not fun. And more importantly, all these just fall into category 2. Doing fucking busy work they never really cared to do. Probably never wanted to do. But if you're a D-Gen and want all the achievements or trophies, you're doing it. Thankfully, none of these games have ever had achievements or trophies fall into category 4. This section is really going to be just for me, but I just want to point out a couple of achievements/trophies that actually exist. Number 1, the Bladder of Steel Award in Rock Band 2. So during the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation, these were really, really, really fucking popular. So as each game in the Guitar Hero and Rock Band franchises came along, they figured they would add more and more and more songs. Until Rock Band 2 had about like 90 songs, I think. They figured it'd be cool if they had the Bladder of Steel Award as an achievement. This set list had every single song in the game. So what you had to do is play through this set list, think of it as a playlist. You can't pause once, and you can't fail once. If you do, the achievement is fucking moot. So, back then, a young version of Fist Truck figured, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Started going the distance. At some point, because I was standing up and I had the strap on, it kind of got flipped around over here. So what I figured I would do between songs is flip it over because, you know, you don't want it just falling mid-song and then I fail or something like that. Well, they keep the start button right here. So when I went to go reach for it, I kind of like did this. When I went to flip it around and I hit pause by mistake. And that was about like 3/4, maybe 80% through the playlist, which, just for a point of reference, is somewhere between 4 to 6 hours long. Yeah, that was pretty infuriating. I still wound up getting it though. Now, if I may bring out a certified banger, we got Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter for the Xbox 360. A classic in its own right. Absolutely love this game. Played the shit out of it when I was a teenager. Super tight tactical action, some pretty solid multiplayer, and in general, actually a pretty tough game. Now with that being said, if you were a god gamer, you had all the achievements in this game. Why? Because a couple of them involved you being #1 in the fucking world. Not only that, you need to be #1 in the fucking world for every single game mode. Your free-for-all deathmatch, your team deathmatch, and whatever other game modes there were, there was an achievement for each of them to be #1 on the leaderboards. Do you understand what kind of fucking madness that is? Now, I know the internet loves negativity, however, I want to point out the good example of some Category 3 achievements. The Orange Box. A certified collection of bangers. Also, they had some pretty cool achievements in Portal, but I just want to point out an achievement that was in Half-Life Episode 1 and another one that was Half-Life Episode 2. In Half-Life Episode 1, they had an achievement where you had to play through the whole game by firing just one bullet. Why is that awesome? Because it requires the player to figure shit out on their own. Use a grav gun, grenades, rocket launchers, wherever it may be. Playing the game in a different way you probably would have never thought of on your own. Pretty sick. Also, in Half-Life Episode 2, they have an achievement where you have to take a garden gnome from like the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game. Kind of annoying, but also funny to just be playing escort with this little man the entire playthrough. Once again, just a quirky little thing, but it keeps it fresh for people who give a shit about that. Now with all that out of the way, let me point out how achievements like these could greatly benefit the Soulsborne Rolden Ring franchise. Fuck, that word sucks. So I'm gonna point out 3 ideas I had for some potential sick-ass achievements / trophies, and then afterwards say why I think they'd be cool. First, beat the game without a HUD. Not really gonna explain this. I have a whole video talking about why this shit is awesome, and really not as intimidating as it sounds. Go watch that if you have questions about that. Second, beat the game by only killing X amount of bosses. I love this shit because every game, aside from Dark Souls 2, has so many different ways you could go about beating it. Dark Souls 1, absolutely adored just playing through the game as fast as possible, killing as few bosses as possible. Bloodborne, same thing. Sekiro, you could really skip a shit ton of bosses, and depending on routing, some won't just show up at all, like the apes, which is pretty cool. And then Elden Ring, there's so many different ways that you can go about playing through that game. So many bosses that you could just skip, so many locations you can skip, and you can have each playthrough be so vastly different aside from the way it goes towards the end, kind of funnels in. But just fresh ways to keep playing the game aside from like, hey, I've collected all the shit, now what? And lastly, this was pretty spicy to me. Imagine if there was an achievement / trophy for beating the game without upgrading any weapon at all. Now, at first, it sounds like it'd be really tedious and really dumb. However, with some thorough exploration and knowing the ins and outs of the game, you can start knowing the locations of where all the pre-upgraded weapons are. So sometimes, you know, you pick up a spear that's +7 or a weapon that's +14 or something like that. They just sprinkle enough in the game so that you can play through it just by picking things up. I think it'd be pretty sick. Just saying. The point is to encourage people to be motivated to play the game in quirky, new, and interesting ways, while slightly lowering the barrier in entry to do so. More importantly, hiding that there is more to these games than just the difficulty, by showing that the greatest joys of these games comes from experimenting, and that the experimentation doesn't just stop after you've beaten the game. And that's about my whole spiel. If you got any funny stories about achievements or how you feel about them, feel free to write down in the comments. I'll be reading, I'll be responding, you know, that's what I do. Aside from that, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I know it's a different kind of content. Like, comment, subscribe, don't like, don't comment, don't subscribe. I prefer you wouldn't do those and that you do the ones where you actually positively engage, but you do you. And until next time, don't forget to wipe before you shit.